Hey YouTube, it's Kier. I said I was going to make a video about my second journey to the Dark Goddess, so it's now 2:35 in the morning, and I'm finally getting around to that. You wanna know why? Because I spent like 7 hours today on YouTube. I'm almost caught up with everybody's videos though. Yeah. Speaking of guilty pleasures. Yeah, this journey to the Dark Goddess was way different. For one thing, I stayed in the underworld from Friday when I descended until early Monday morning. And, you know, by stayed, I don't mean I stayed in a meditative state in the fucking underworld for 3 days, because I would have eventually had to have peed and that would have ruined the whole thing. No, but every night I would do something, you know, to work on the shit that I wanted to work on and the reason that I was there and all that. So that's what I meant by stayed. And then Monday I did the Ascension ritual, which I didn't have when I did the first journey, but I mean, it sure as hell felt like I ascended. That was weird as fuck, the whole roller coaster feeling, and, you know, whatever. So I just assumed I ascended, and if I didn't, well, I have now, so it's all good. Yeah, it was something else. I put a lot of planning into this. Last week when I was having my pity party balloons and all, one of the only things that I did make sure I focused on was my plan to do this. I wrote down why I wanted to do it. One of my major things and one of the major reasons why I wanted to do it again was because I wanted to confront shit so I could finally forgive shit. Because, as I've said before, I don't confront things that have happened. I bury them, tell myself I'm fine, and, you know, move on, except I don't. Oh look, sirens in my neighborhood. Surprise, surprise. So they cop or fire? Yeah, that's... whoa. There you go, dumbass. I'm fucking epileptic looking at the sirens go by. I'm an idiot. Anyway, yeah. So, I wrote down the people that I wanted to forgive. And I wrote down, things like, you know, I wanted to forgive my body for the diseases that I have, and I wanted to forgive the diseases themselves, and, you know, that sort of shit. And I think that's a process. I don't think I mean, I did, well, I'll get to that. But I don't think that that's something that was cleared up in the 3 days and it's over with now. I think that's something I'm going to have to keep working on, but I do think I've made the first step. And I think that that is the purpose of the journey. It isn't that you're going to come back and all of your problems are going to be fixed and you're going to be fine. It's that it gives you a starting place to keep working on yourself, to see the shit that you need to work on and how you might be able to fix it. And I think that in some cases, the figuring out how is also a gradual process. It comes in time. On Saturday, I was just kind of like meditating because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, because a lot of the exercises that are in the Journey to the Dark Goddess relate to situations you had control over when they happened, that you maybe made mistakes with, and trying to forgive yourself for that and that sort of thing. And that really isn't my big problem. My big problem is situations I didn't have any control whatsoever over that just happened to me. That's why I have such a big problem with them. One, I'm a control freak. You can't, you know, and two, it was really fucked up shit, you know? Hit my ashtray. Now, there is one exercise where you imagine, even if it's like a situation where it was a relationship and the blame was 50-50 or whatever when the breakup happened, or whatever it is, you imagine, no matter the situation, that you had 100% responsibility over it, and you try to imagine if you had 100% responsibility over a situation, even though it was a bad situation, what might you have gained from it? So, even though they weren't situations I did actually have any control over, I did feel a sense of empowerment by imagining that I did. And, you know, I do that all the time anyway with the trying to find shit that I've gained from the bad shit that happened, because that's how I deal with it. Like, I think I've talked about this before, that I started writing my first book, which was horrible, but it was my starting place, when I was 12, and I had been going through a nervous breakdown for a year. I had a clinical, you know, they diagnosed it as a nervous breakdown between the ages of 11 and 12 years old. But even though that was a really fucked up time in my life, I had always wrote, but not full-length shit, and it got me to that point. It also got me toward Anne Rice. I started reading her during that time period, and it was a good damn thing I did, because her books were my escape, and they helped me a lot. Anne Rice, Marilyn Manson, you know, all happy things. But another example is, I know for a fact if I wouldn't have gotten sick, I would have eventually quit writing. It was already starting when I got really badly sick the first time. I was working full-time at Walmart, and I had just started college, and I didn't have time to write, and I hadn't written a fucking word in like 3 months. And then I got fired from Walmart because I kept missing work, and I had doctor's excuses, but to Walmart, that's not a thing. Yeah, true story. But anyway, I'll make another video one day about how fucking bad corporate America sucks, but this is not the video. Don't get me started. But yeah, I know that if things hadn't have gone down like that, I wouldn't be here right now with books that I've finished since then. I would have never finished Castles Made of Sand. I would have never finished Beauty and the Beast. I wouldn't have started rewriting Rapunzel. Keela wouldn't be a thing. Like, her whole character would not exist, you know. And anything I write from this point on wouldn't have existed without me getting sick. So yeah, it's a really shitty situation, and it's had major negative impacts on my life, but it isn't like I didn't get anything good out of it, and I try to focus on that. But I also, while I was doing this journey, figured out that I have spent so much time being afraid of playing the victim, because I've always seen that as a dead-end street. I have always felt that once you start using things that have happened to you in your life, even really horrible fucked up shit, as an excuse, which is how I define playing the victim, that's when you give up, and that's when you stop trying to be a better version of you. People who are, 35 years old, and they never bothered trying to do anything with their lives, and you ask them why, and they're like, oh, well, my mom wasn't very nice to me when I was a kid. Now, I am not talking about people who were severely abused that have very serious, very real mental illness problems because of it. Y'all know the kind of people I'm talking about. So don't send me the hate mail over that. I am a person filled with compassion, but I am also real. And I was always just so afraid of falling into that trap. For me, I have talked more about being sick and things in my life here on YouTube in the past 2 months than I have ever talked about it. The abuse and shit that I suffered when I was a kid, I would not discuss at all until I was about 25 years old. And when I did start talking to family members about it, I did it only because one day I just realized, like, it's my story. And I don't give a shit who gets pissed off. I'm gonna tell my fucking story. Because I had hid it too long, And the shit that came along with it, and the emotions and the pain and all of that just grew and grew and grew because I hid it. And that's what happens when you hide shit like that. But yeah, I still, sometimes even in talking about the shit, I still am afraid that I'm going to be perceived as the kind of person who's playing the victim, and I'm not. I am not that person. I do not use the shit that's happened to me or the illnesses that I have, sorry about that, as an excuse not to do anything. Yes, my illnesses limit certain shit, I can't go outside the home and work. But I have been trying to come up with ways to do shit from home. I have been looking at fucking businesses that are supposed to be, like, companies you're supposed to be able to work for from home for years, and I have yet to find one that was legitimate. It doesn't mean they're not out there. It just means that they're not as prevalent on the internet as the bullshit companies. At one point, I looked into trying to be a transcriber for, like, medical records or psychological records from a mental health clinic, but that's a job that very few openings come up for, at least around here, because you do still have to go into an office now and then. You know, just there's a lot of shit I can't do, but at the same time, that doesn't mean I'm not going to do anything, because I'm just not that kind of person. But yeah, I faced a lot of shit this time around, and I met Hecate. Oh my god, I felt so fucking stupid. Okay, so y'all remember in the first video when I was telling you that Inanna was at the gate? It wasn't Inanna, it was Hecate, and I have never... Okay, the night I dedicated myself as a witch, which was June 21st, 1998, I dedicated myself that same night to Athena and Hermes. They have been my only matron and patron gods, and I have never had any desire to have any other matron or patron. At one point, I was being heavily drawn toward the Celtic pantheon, and I thought maybe that was why, that there was a deity there that I was supposed to, you know, work with or whatever, but it didn't feel right. I read about them all, and I read what was interesting to me and that sort of thing, and it just didn't feel like that was the situation. And then Morgan ended up being a prevalent factor in the book Beauty and the Beast, and it will be in Sleeping Beauty as well. She is a major part of Keela's life, and she was really a pretty big supporting role in Beauty and the Beast with Ariane. That was not intentional. I did not plan that out. I was writing the scene where Keela takes Ariane out to do her first ritual, which was for Samhain, and she was showing her what to do and that sort of thing, and all of a sudden, you know, this goddess appeared to her, and I'm like, well, you know, let's go with it. And it was Morgan. And then after I wrote her into the book, I was not drawn toward that pantheon in that way anymore. So, you know, for whatever reason, that was how that was meant to go down, and it went down, and that was that. But, yeah, I think I have two matrons. I have two matrons. I haven't dedicated myself or anything like that. I'm going to spend the next few months studying her and being 100% sure, because I see a dedication to a goddess as a lifelong commitment. So I gotta be sure that I'm sure about this. That's how I am. But she basically told me that everything I've blocked about myself, like, you know, everything that I've hidden about myself, I share with her. And in doing so, I basically refused to listen to her, which made sense. And then I see, like, I knew the bare basics about her. I used to know a lot about all of the Greek gods. When I was a little girl, I was obsessed with two things besides music. I've always been obsessed with music and rock stars and all that. But other than that, I was obsessed with American Indian tribes. I used to know the names of every single one of them, and where the original, you know, the 500 tribes, or the 500 nations, all of them, including the ones that are no longer in existence. And I used to know where all of them originated from. And I used to know a whole hell of a lot more than I know now about Greek gods and Greek myths. I knew more at 11 when I came into the craft about Greek gods and Greek myths than I know now. because I've forgotten so fucking much of it. You know, I had to make room for shit like Janis Joplin playing Monterey Pop Festival on Saturday, June 17th, 1967. Yes, all of those really important facts were deleted for, like, rock trivia. But my rock trivia was written into a book, so it was helpful, right? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so all I knew or could remember about Hecate was the bare basics, that she was a triple goddess, that she was Greek, and that she usually appeared with either a single hound or a black hound with 3 heads. Oh, and you know, that she stands at the crossroads and that sort of thing. I couldn't remember anything more in depth than that. After our conversation, I find out that for one thing, in certain, because I don't know if y'all are really into, I don't know a lot of people who identify heavily with the Greek pantheon that are Wiccan, or, you know, I know there's Hellenic pagans, and they do, obviously, but as far as Wiccans go, there are not a lot of people I've met who identify with the Greek pantheon, so I don't know how many of you guys know this, but there are different, like, phases of myths, and the deities changed. Like, at one point, there was a goddess just for justice in the earlier myths, and then at some point, Athena absorbed her. And there was a goddess just for wisdom, and then Athena absorbed her, and, you know, she became the goddess of justice, war, wisdom, all of it. Well, apparently, in some of the myths from a kind of in-between time period, not the really early period, but not the late period either, Athena was seen as an aspect of Hecate. It was, let me see if I can remember this, Artemis, Athena, and Aphrodite, I want to say. Hold on, I wrote it down. What the fuck am I doing? Hold on a minute. My brain goes blank sometimes. This is why I write shit down now. Damn it. Hold on. Sorry. Damn it. Oh, the hell, I'm literally 1 page off. Okay. Oh, damn it. I didn't write it down. Are you fucking with me? Really? Okay, I think it was Aphrodite. But, Aphrodite, or Athena, and Hecate are very closely related. They both share the owl. They both share an affinity for wisdom, though it's not exactly the same kind of wisdom. They are both deities that relate to wisdom, which is probably why they share the owl. And then Hermes, who is my patron, in some of the myths, Hecate is a virgin, and then that was Athena. Anyway, in some of the myths, Hermes and Hecate are consorts. So, they're all related. I thought that was kind of interesting. And all of this explained why Athena was the one who was like, hey, you're gonna journey to the underworld. But I don't want it, but I don't care. So yeah, it was a very interesting trip. When I do videos, like so many videos in one night, and then nighttime rolls around, my brain starts getting fucked up and my speech starts getting fucked up. I'm sure y'all have noticed this before. I apologize. Anyway, oh god damn it, really? Okay, now I know where I was. When I ascended and I picked everything up that I had laid down at the 7 gates, I basically had to decide how these things were going to change for me and how I was going to change them. And I also maybe might have made a few promises to Hecate, which, you know, we don't want to go back on those, do we? No, we don't. So, there is a chance that sometime in the future I am going to be making videos of messages I have received in the past and messages that I receive now. If you're looking for something like super fucking exciting, this is not going to be it. It will mostly be just, you know, basic facts that people have told me, and maybe like a little tidbit of a funny story or an interesting story or whatever they used as their, my family will identify me this way sort of thing. They're not going to be super, fascinating. They very rarely are. It's just like meeting somebody on the street. It's, it's on that level. Quite mundane. I think that those of us who, know spirits on that level, and those of us who are psychic, and any of us who have that sort of thing going on, I think we should make it our mission to take the para out of paranormal, because this shit is not paranormal. It is normal. It happens every day, happens all around us, all the time. It's just few people pay attention to it. Anyway, so yeah, I am probably going to start making videos, getting those messages out there. Because I have really been a fucking asshole for not really trying to put them out there all this time, because I was afraid of how people would look at me. Well, fuck that. I'm not doing it anymore. So, so if that's something that might interest you, look for that in the future. I am going to start rounding up messages, getting, if I can remember what my username and shit is for that anonymous blog I set up a few years ago for this purpose. I'll get the messages that I had on there, and I'll get them all together, and I will start doing my thing and collecting more messages, and I will start getting them out there finally. And I'll make a video with like more information on that when it's time. Another way is that you may see a change, not really a big change, but in my channel, is that when I am called to talk about something that's uncomfortable, that I don't want to talk about, like if my brain will hold out, I'm going to do in a little bit. I am the boyfriend early, yay! Anyway, yeah, I'm going to do it because I kind of promised I would. So, I'm going to cut this off here. It's 22 minutes of me rambling, so that won't bother y'all at all. I love you guys. You guys are great, and I hope you all smile and have a great week.